Welcome to the October 29th edition of the Stabilization Brigade meeting. These meetings are recorded and posted to YouTube, so please remember that when you share things or speak. I will also try to post a transcript of this later as well. Please register your attendance with the @here. You see people putting in the chat. If you did it before I did the announcements, please redo it just so that'll be captured as well. The meetings for this minute are captured via the chat through @topic and @item lines in the chat. If you want to add an item to the minutes, please feel free to do an @item plus whatever text you want to enter, and that'll be captured in the automatic notes as well. Visible is the agenda for today. Is a relatively quick overview of some changes as well as some status. Is there any other topics people would like to add to this agenda? All right. Oh, Zach's adding right now. Upcoming patch cleanup. All right. Let's start with the change to protobufs. If you are not aware, there are some upcoming changes to the protobufs. There are kind of two types of changes coming up. The first type of change that's coming up is one where we're going to be changing the names of some of the messages. This is to accommodate the Java client generator. Currently, as the protobuf stands, the Java client generator duplicates names in the code it generates, which causes the code to compile. To work around this, there will have to be message changes and enum changes. So we'll see some prefixes around some of the definitions. This will be considered a major change to the protobufs, so we will be changing the major version of the protobufs. We'll be changing it to version 3. This is actually a jump from essentially version 1 to version 3. Skipping version 2, although we should have already been at version 2. So, okay, that was a little confusing. So when we started with the protobufs with version 1.7, then we went to Volta 2.0, and we modified the protobufs to go from a Volta global service and a Volta local service to just a Volta service. That was a major incompatible backward change, which is when we should have gone to Volta 2.0, prototype 2.0. And then this change, which is another backward compatible version or non-compatible version, would go to version 3. So to rectify some of that, we're just jumping to version 3. Where that helps out is in tools like VoltCuttle, where it already recognized the difference between version 1 and version 2. So as we continue to make significant changes to the protobufs, that tool can adjust and call that version 3 or differentiate that as version 3. The other change coming to protobufs, which may invoke a version 4 of the protobufs, are changes to deal with some of the device state differences that we've talked about in previous TST meetings that Ken has spoken about. And so that will be upcoming as well. Just want to let people know that this is happening. So there will be probably some, some difficulties. I expect some things breaking as this happens, and just be prepared for that. Any question on that? I should learn that topic actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. So I wonder, should we preserve the old protobuf as version 1, version 2, and version 3 folders?
What do you mean in separate folders? If they're in the In Garrett, they're preserved, so I'm a little confused by the question.
So if there's a client still uses the version 1 of the version, how it will get the proto buff? So probably it will need the old version, and it should still be somewhere in the GitHub, right?
It will be in GitHub, presumably tagged. That actually does bring up a good question. Before we commit the new changes and change to version 3, we should be sure to tag what we have now essentially is version 2. Presumably there is a tag somewhere for version 1.
Yeah, there's a 103, what it's at right now. And then when we first started it, it was 100. So, yeah, I mean, we could just bump it to 200, and then anybody who pulls from a git tag 200 will have what we have today.
Yeah, that's probably what we need to do. I'll communicate that to people and that aren't on the call if we need to do that. But yeah, Zach is on the call as well. Does the ProBuffs have a version file that we can update to automatically release it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it works the same way as everything else.
Oh, excellent. And we should do that before any of the changes are committed or...
I was going to say also, would there be any reason that the version 3 can't both include the naming changes and the device state changes? Given both of them are going to be substantial, why not just have them both be a version 3 item?
I'd be happy with that, actually, rather than have to go to version 3, version 4. It's all going to be about timeline when the changes are actually going to be made.
Okay, fair enough.
And as I understand it, the name changes are pretty much ready to go. The state or the device state changes are not yet.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
When we release version 2, do we want to try to update all components to import that? Mostly as proof that we've got past any Go mod hurdles related to V2 import paths, you know, both in the consumers and in the source repo.
Yeah, I think we should upgrade clients to use the Go mod. I don't know how you refer to that version 2 path. I think it's a good trial run for what's going to happen in version 3 to give us a little more experience there. And that means if we want, we can also tag another release of some of these components tied to that version 2 as well. Kind of formalize all that. So I think
it may be time to do a Helm chart release too if we think all of that stuff together is stable and consistent.
Yeah, and I know some of the tests that have been running have been a little more consistent now with some of the patches into the core, so it might be good to do that. Julie, you're on the call. This is beyond just stabilization, Brigade. How do we need to manage this?
If we need to address it on a Tuesday call, we can do, or Thursday, we can do that. We've got a pretty full agenda today for discussion.
I'll bring it up on the G5 chat and
okay.
That goes. But I think it's a good idea. I think Scott's right. It's probably about time to cut a release. As I think it was, I know Scott said it, and I think he quoted it from Zach. You know, better to release. Was it often? I'm gonna get the quote wrong. How's that?
Release early, release often. Yeah,
Thank you.
you want to
It's
get
just-
used to doing releases so that we're used to doing it in general, and it's easier to patch things.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. Um, right, excellent. Any other comments on the protobuf changes that kind of evolved into version changes? All right. Going to patch sets, which is my daily complaint. Why do I keep doing that? Obviously, it's too early in the morning for me. But as a topic, at item 38 outstanding patch sets. This doesn't really seem to be shrinking, and depending on when I do it, it grows. So we really need to put focus on reviewing and merging patch sets. There are cases where there's that have already been reviewed, multiple plus ones, but many rebased at this point. And because patch sets are not getting reviewed in a timely manner and merged, we're going to have to rebase more and more and more. And some of those rebases are now becoming manual rebases as opposed to quick button rebases in the Garrett UI. So this problem is going to get worse unless we really spend some effort cleaning it up. I do try to send a daily nag list, but apparently my nagging isn't proficient enough to actually get some changes in behavior. It is the responsibility of the person who created the patch set to nag people to get it reviewed. I'll put it that way. Right? Patch sets cannot be fire and forget. They need you guys, as you create a patch set, please follow up with people on the chat list to get people review it. If you're not, if you're really trying and you're not getting a response, direct message me or at dbandry in the chat so I can bring my attention to it and I'll help or enlist other people to help. But please don't just fire and forget patch sets. It's part of the job of creating a patch is also tracing down or hunting down people to review it and get at least 2+1s on it, so that someone else who has merge capabilities can come in and maybe do a quick review and do a +2 merge. But we need people to put effort into getting that done. And I'm guessing, as Zach put the upcoming patch set cleanup, there is more he has to talk about that, as that looks like a link to a document.
So one thing to mention is it is helpful when you're submitting a patch set to think of who you want to review it and make sure to add them as reviewers of the patch set. That way it'll show up, when they go into Garrett as an incoming patch. So certainly different people in the community have different areas of expertise. You might know someone who's good with API server, stick their name on it, or someone who's good with the OMCI stuff, stick their name on your patch, and that'll help it show up for them.
Yep.
David, if you could follow that link.
Yep. Just a minute. Just writing some notes.
So this is to the message that went out to Volta Discuss and a few other groups. Basically, we have a bunch of older patch sets in Garrett that we think might be stale or haven't been touched in a while.
Yep.
If you click on that link, anyone who clicks on that link in the email will go to Garrett and see everything they have that's older than a month.
Yeah.
Here we see you have some patches from 2017.
Yeah, they say do not merge.
Yeah, right. So a lot of these you could abandon, and if you abandon them within the thing, then they won't show up in people's review queues, which helps make it so that people know what to review. They don't have a bunch of stuff sitting around, and we're sure when something has made it either through the system or is not intended to be patched, or is not intended to be merged into and submitted to the system. So
I would say, you know, if you're going to keep a patch set around, yeah, clearly these probably can be abandoned. I just haven't gone and done them. But if you are going to keep it around because you want it around, right, please prefix it with "do not merge" or "work in progress" WIP, because at least then we can filter them out based on that on reports. I mean, there are reasons, again, these aside, that I'm showing right now, that people might want to keep patch sets, and that's fine. I just think we need them to be able to mark so we can filter them out.
right. And so another thing you can use is when you upload, you can do them as draft. That will unfortunately cause some of the tests not to run on them, which you may want to run. Another thing you can do is if you do abandon them, there is a way to restore an abandoned patch. It just makes it so that it's less noisy to other people. So just be aware of that process. And then I'm probably going to come by through the system and start asking people whether they want to keep patch sets alive if they're a month old, and then I can abandon them. And I'm going to start doing that on patch sets where people have not paid attention to them in a while.
Okay, excellent. Any questions on this? All right. Is there anything else? When was this posted?
Just
15 hours ago.
yesterday. So
15 hours ago. All right, excellent.
Yeah, and ask me if you have any questions about it, or Garrett questions in general.
Okay. Just put the link in the notes as well. All right. Last call on that. If there are any questions on patch sets. All right. Moving on to a JIRA update. I heard someone pronounce it Jira the other day. I don't know what the actual correct pronunciation is. I think this is the whole GIF issue all over again. All right, we have 103 issues that are either in the to-do category or in process category, which means they need to be either owned by someone or they're already owned by someone and being worked on, but not closed. It could be they're not closed because they're waiting for patch set review. If you do some quick math, that looks like there's about 28 in the in-progress state, which means it's a good chance that they're in that progress state because the review hasn't happened. It's also, I think, not necessarily a healthy sign of a project when we have that many in progress JIRAs waiting to be closed, because again, it just says the pipeline's not going as fast as it should be or as smoothly as it should be. So if you have an item that isn't in progress but has the patch set already merged, please close the item. Just mark it as fixed. It's a bug, or done if it's a task. If you're still waiting, again, we got to get the patch set thing under control. We again have 75 outstanding issues. That's, I think, has come down a little bit, which is good. I haven't noticed personally the curve of, and I haven't graphed it unfortunately, of incoming issues, but it doesn't seem like it's growing quite as quickly as it has in the past. So this past week, since the 21st, again, closed or resolved 46 issues, opened 16 new ones. Probably should need to graph that, and we'll have a pretty graph of the actual growth, although the dashboard probably shows some of that as well. So I think that's okay. Any questions around JIRAs? All right. Jumping to the last topic then, test coverage. Can't spell, but that's okay. There's the current test coverage chart. The items marked in green have increased in terms of coverage percentage since last meeting. I don't know. Yeah. So you can see I added volt cuddle to the list. It wasn't there but last time. The API server increased significantly from 14 to 38%. The libgo went from 16 to 18, so not as great as climb, but still positive. Volt2Go went from 12 to 14. That didn't hit my threshold as green. It was subjective. It has increased, but it needs to get better. And you can see Volt open up OLT adapter seemed to actually go negative. Never mind. That should not be green. That should be red. And the last two have stayed stagnant. So while we've seen some improvement over this one, we are still significantly below kind of that 80% check that we're trying to look at. So again, please, as you check in code, please check in unit tests as you review code. If you see code added in particular and you don't see, please -1 the review and request unit test. And the good news is in Garrett, you can -1 anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. And people can learn not to be offended by -1 if they are offended by -1. It's just a way to communicate that some further work needs to be done on a patch set. So along with merging the existing patch sets, if you go over that patch set and it needs a unit test, mark it as -1. At least people know their action has to be taken. And let's see if we can get some of the unit test, better unit test coverage. And again, I know unit tests aren't perfect. And we don't want unit tests that give us the code coverage numbers but don't do anything significant in terms of don't really test anything. So we're trying to find that balance. So just give it the old college try, so to speak. And that is all I have to say on that. Any questions? All right.
It might be worth reporting the Python ones as well. PyVolta, currently, for what it's worth, PyVolta OMCI is 31%. The ONU is a big fat 0.
Okay. Is there a make test target on those that will give me the overall coverage? Okay.
PyVolta has make tests that does work pretty well. The ONU, the ONU adapter needs testing set up from the start. So,
okay. And ONU, open ONU. Okay. Chat keeps correcting ONU to 1. All right. I will add those to the list as well. All right. I have nothing else on the agenda. If anyone doesn't have anything to add, we'll end the meeting and go about our way. If you are in California, I hope everything's going okay for you, whether that is just power outages or worse. Actually, I hope no matter where you are, everything's going okay for you, but California's got its own issues right now. All right. If nothing else, I'll give you the rest of the time back, and we'll see you on the Volt call in 30 minutes. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks, David. Bye, everyone.